Okay, today what we're going to do is we are going to spend a little bit of time getting familiar with Google SketchUp. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to open up Google. So what we want to do is we want to go to our waffle, all right, and inside of our little Google waffle here, we'll have our apps, basically. You got your classrooms, you got your documents. So we're going to scroll all the way down, and it should be in everyone's Chromebook, should be SketchUp for Schools. Let me move, there we go. SketchUp for Schools. So for you guys that are at home, I don't know this 100%, so we're going to have to kind of work together here. But if you go to log in to your Google Classroom stuff, just like you're going to do a regular remote learning day, and you should have your saved stuff in there. I believe since we have the educational version of this, everybody should be able to get to it, all right? If you can't, I don't want you buying it. You're not going to pay for, trying to get Google SketchUp, SketchUp for Schools on your computer. But if you could find a free version, that would be nice. You are going to probably use this again with some other classes, depending on what they are going to try to do. So hopefully you guys at home are able to get Google SketchUp for Schools and be able to participate in this project. If you can't, we might just have to do pencil and paper. I would hate to do that, but I think that might be the way to go, depending on what we can get available. If I get more information, or if you guys at home are able to get it, maybe shoot me an email saying, hey, Mr. Longton, we got it, and we're good. But this is what we're going to do. So in class, we're going to go down to here. We're going to click on SketchUp for Schools, and then the SketchUp logo is going to come up. And what we want to do is we're going to try to open up a new program or a new document for SketchUp, and we're going to start practicing a little bit. So I've already got 3 things saved on here, but what we want to do is go to Create New, all right? And on your simple template, we just want to keep it with feet and inches, all right? We're just going to keep it simple from there. So when I click on that, then my drawing surface opens up. You got this crazy Western guy here with his crazy cowboy tie and shirt. But this guy's on here for scale. So when we start to create things, we'll know if I have a door that's this big, I know that that guy can't go through that door. So I usually leave him on there so that I can get some scale. If you click on him, you can actually delete him, all right? But let's just keep him there for now. So I think one of the most important things is zooming in and out. So on my keyboard, I don't have a mouse, so I'm just kind of bringing my fingers together and making everything making him a little further away so that I have a little bit more of a surface to work with. We have a couple toolbars here. All right, we have one on our left and then one on our right. We're going to focus on this one today, and then when we start getting into the project, we'll focus a little bit on this one as well because there's some nice things in there, all right? So the top button here, we have our arrow, and this is how when you hover above it, it'll say select. This is how we can select some things. So for instance, I have this guy here. If I click and drag, so I'm holding the button down as I drag, then I'm able to select him, and I can deal with whatever properties that he has as well. So this one is your select button. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom real quick here. So as I hover on this, it's kind of got a line, and then it's got an arrow going one way and an arrow going the other way around it, and it's called an orbit button. So I like this one because when this is highlighted, and you'll notice whenever you click on anything, so I clicked on the bottom, I'll know that it's selected because my cursor turns into that button, all right? And so since I've clicked on that, I know that I've already got the orbit going and they look the same. So what I can do is I'm going to click on my mouse button and hold it, and then this allows me to rotate around. So you can see my cursor's changing. You can see my horizon line up here. I can move that up and down, but I can also orbit around my drawing, all right? And so that's a nice one. There's also, if I click on here, you'll notice that other options go with this, all right? So these top two are kind of important. We have our orbit, and then we have a hand. So I'm going to click on that hand, all right? And you can see, now that I've clicked on the hand, I know that I'm on the hand because that is what is showing up on my cursor. So the hand is kind of nice because you're allowed to, you click and hold, and then you can move things side to side. So you might be working in this space here and you need a little bit more room. You could slide it over, all right? Or you can go up and down depending on the room that you need, all right? I'll put them back in the center there, all right? And so this is my pan button, that hand and pan. I can pan to one side, I can pan to the other side, I can go up and down, all right? So we started up here with our select, we went all the way, we've got orbit, we've got pan. Here's what we're going to want to do. We are going to want to start to save what we are going to start drawing, all right? So we don't have anything on there just yet, but we're going to want to give this one a title, all right? So I'm just going to call it a test run, all right? Tell you what, we'll draw something in there first, and then we'll go. So I've got my select button. We have an eraser button. I'll show you that in a little bit here. We have a paint button as we work our way down, all right? So I'm working in this toolbox here. We did our select. There's an eraser. We've got paint. Just hovering above them will tell you what it is. We have a pencil. This allows us to draw straight lines. So when you have the pencil, you can click and hold. I can draw a line at whatever angle I want it to. I can connect lines. And when they're connected, they'll fill in solid, all right? A great button if you mess up. We can go to the top here, hit that undo button, and it will get rid of the last things that we've done, all right? There is also in the pencil, you have a freehand line. This is one of the few ones that will show you that it's a freehand line by a little bitty squiggle right next to the pencil. So usually the pencil will be by itself, or if you've got that squiggle line, it will have that little line area to it, and it lets us freehand lines, and if we connect them, they'll be together, all right? So again, I can go up to the top there and edit undo my last few things, all right? Our next few, as we work our way down from the squiggle line or our straight line, is we have arc. And when you click on arc, there are some different angles that you can work from. This one's a little bit more advanced. We'll add those maybe towards the, once we get a little bit more practice in. We have a lot of different things that we can add in there. The one under arc is called rectangle, all right? And it starts with that rectangle shape. So if I click on rectangle, I'm able to click and drag instead of making a single line here and a single line there and connecting all those. I can get myself a nice rectangle shape, all right? If I go back into rectangle, it gives me a couple different options where I can rotate the rectangle. It gives us a circle. I think it is a polygon, and there are also letters in here. So lots of different options. We're going to stick with the rectangle shape for there, all right? And right underneath the rectangle shape is the push-pull button. So it has a little square box with an arrow going up. We're going to click on that. This also gives you a couple different options. we're going to stick with just the top one. The bottom two are a little bit more advanced. So I'm going to go with the push-pull. Again, my cursor turns into the push-pull button. And whenever I go on top of something that's solid, it will change and it will give us some blue dots. That means that that is activated. And now I can click and drag up, and I can now make a box that's three-dimensional. I can go as high as I want or as low as I want, and it will work. You will notice that once I go away from that area, those blue dots go away, but I can go to another area, and I can get blue dots here, and I can move this side to side. All right? So depending on the side, I look for those blue dots, and I can make it go up and down. So I've used the rectangle button to make a flat rectangle, and then I use the push-pull button to get it to be three-dimensional. I'm going to go back down to the bottom here where I've got my hand. All right. And with the hand button, I can move this side to side so that I can see how long I have made that box. I can go back to the hand here, the pan button, and I can click on the orbit. So I've got my arrows that are spinning around, and I can click and drag, and I can go all the way around this box. Now you'll notice with the orbit button, my horizon line is kind of going up and down. I'm not too steady right now, but I can also look. So there's my horizon line is right even with this center line here. So if it's sitting on the horizon, you notice I don't see the top of that box anymore. What's nice about this is that as I rotate, if I wanted to look underneath the box, I could actually do some work underneath here. All right? So I've got my ground level right on the horizon. And then as the horizon moves up, I start to see more of the top of the box. And I can kind of work from here. So if I think this is too long, I can go back to my push-pull. All right? And you just got to make sure, sometimes when we click on things and we go kind of quick, if our icon doesn't change here, then we got to go back and make sure it does, because we could be pushing and pulling and doing different things that aren't going to work. So if I want to make this a little smaller, I'll highlight the area that I want to work in, and I can drag it however I want. Maybe I want this to come down just a little bit more. All right? Now, you can really do quite a bit with these two buttons here, the rectangle and the push and pull. All right? So I'm going to go back to a rectangle. I'm going to put a rectangle on the side of this box, like so. And I can do the push-pull. Maybe I go in just a little bit, and I can make a little doorway. All right? I can put a rectangle on the side. And push-pull. Maybe I got a little window on the side as well. All right. So why would we use the pencil? All right, so I went up to the squiggly line. I'm going to click on pencil. Why would we use the pencil if we can already make rectangles and make nice houses and boxes with just the rectangles? Well, if I wanted to make a roof, there's a couple things I could do. I'm going to spin around to the front here. So I can see the front area here, and I'm going to click on my pencil. So I've got the pencil. So if I wanted to, I could click and drag a line up to here, and I could click and drag a line up to there, and that fills it in. Now, from this view, it looks pretty flat, but I'm going to want to rotate around it just to make sure it's not leaning, because sometimes that'll happen. And that is pretty straight up and down. So I'm going to go with the push-pull. And I'm going to try to stop it on the end. And I've got myself a nice little triangular roof on there. So there's another way to do this. I can exit out here. I'm going to go to my undo button, and I went as far back as I wanted to go, and I'm going to push and pull this up just a little bit higher. All right. Now, if I wanted a two-story or something like that, that would be fine. Judging by the gentleman standing here, I probably didn't make this tall enough for the first floor. But I went back to my pencil button here, and I found the midpoint, so it'll tell you when you've got the middle area. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, and there it tells me it's on the edge. And there's the end point. And that tells me it's on the edge. And if I'm perfectly straight across, I hope you saw that there was a little dotted line there. That means that they are even. So I raised up my box a little taller, and I have drawn my triangle on there. And this is a little bit easier. And then I just push these till they get to the end, and then they kind of go away themselves. Pretty cool, huh? Now, let's say that I wanted to get a little crazier here. So I've undone everything back to here. What if I wanted my roof to look a little different? So there's my midpoint, and I went in with a squiggly line instead of a straight line. I'm going to do the same on the other side. All right. So now when I highlight it, I'm going to rotate over just a little bit. Oh, see, this will happen. Depending on the line that we've made, you can see this one ended up being flat on the side, and this one was going at a different angle. So let me go back a few. All right, I'm going to rotate this. Sometimes it's best if we can keep this kind of flat in front of us for a few minutes. And let's see if this works. I got my midpoint. I'm going to draw my squiggly line. Caught the edge there. And I'm going to draw my squiggly line and caught the edge there. So if I rotate before I do any pushing and pulling, click on my orbit button. Now mine is a little flatter. So sometimes it's best to give yourself a nice flat shape to do some work on, so that way it will help with the three-dimensional qualities. So now when I click on my push-pull button, all right, those highlight separately, and I can move those over, and I can give my roof a unique top to it. So that's kind of goofy looking, all right? But you can see I can get some nice shapes in there. And if I wanted to, I can go to the rectangle. I can go down to the middle one. There's a circle. And if I wanted to put a circle in my shape, something rounded, all right, I can push-pull until I get a nice circle window. I can do things like that. All right. So what we're going to try to do today is just kind of experimenting for a little bit. And I want you to work with these things here. Now there's a few things that aren't going to make too much sense. I didn't go with the feet. That's for when we get all done. We do have a measuring tape that you can kind of measure your distances with. There's some other shapes that I didn't go over that you can experiment with. The last one I want to go over is the little paint jar right here. That one's not too bad, and it does incorporate the other side. So when I clicked on paint, it's given me some colors here that if I select one of those colors, then I can dump paint onto the side here, all right? Now, I don't recommend doing too much more with this. For right now, we're just kind of working on trying to get used to making a box, all right, from our rectangle shape. And we want to focus on just kind of making a house from there, all right? So this is kind of in my way. There's a little arrow up here. I can click on that. This will make things a little bit bigger. I can also zoom out so that I can see what I'm working with here, and I can orbit around to see how things are going. So I really want you just to spend some time today, experiment with this. There'll be a second video for your grade level coming soon that will address the project that we're going to work on. So every grade level will have a different SketchUp project that we're working on, and we're going to go from there. So spend some time today just practicing, working on a house. Be nice to see some doors. Be nice to see a roof. You can add some other things. You can add some color. Don't do too much over in here. There's a lot of stuff on here that's going to mess with your picture if you're not sure what to do with it. Just kind of stick with the lines in here. But you can experiment with making a curved line or an arc or things like that. And then remember, this button's great right here. Clicking on this will get rid of the last mistake you made. So if you didn't like something right away, go up here. Otherwise, you're going to have to take out a whole lot. Now, as you're going, I would recommend that we save. So once you start drawing, even if you get just a rectangle down, just hit save first, all right? Give it a title. All right, and then hit OK, and then that title, so I'm going to save, whoops, let me try that again here. Save, test run, will be my title. So you should have some folders. And depending on where you want to save it, there's shared drives, there's folders. I'm going to go back. Oops. There we go. So I saved it into one of my classrooms. It will put your title up in here, and then that should be saved onto the opening screen, so that way you can click on your test run, your practice, and hopefully it's the project that we have coming up. Okay? So I would go up here quite a bit as you add things, hit save, because you don't want to have to restart this. So making sure you get it saved in the beginning will definitely save you a lot of grief. Okay? So look for the second video coming up for your grade level, and have fun experimenting. Like I said, test out all these things in here so that you get aware of how you can do some things. And there'll be more. I'll add more as we go on how those things will work. Okay? Email me if you got any questions, and I will see you guys soon.